In this video, we're going to talk about some upcoming TGEs that I found very interesting, AI agents, and some innovations in the world of DeFi. So without further ado, let's jump straight into it. Welcome back to the 5-Figure Escape. This is episode 3, and in this video, we're going to first of all talk about an underrated TGE that really just hasn't had the attention that I think it deserves, and that is Timeswap. And Timeswap are finally announcing their token, and launching their token, I should say, and there will be a public sale for this available on Fjord. Now, there's a few things that are interesting about this. Firstly, Timeswap, the protocol is pretty great. I've been using it a lot over the last couple of years. In fact, I've made quite a few videos. It's been a common recurrer in the farms of the month that we've been doing as well. And it works really, really great. Yes, it's an AMM market, and it lets you speculate on the time component of various different assets, like Uniswap, but for the speculation of the time component of assets, where you can essentially lend or borrow assets. Now, it's not a money market, but definitely appears in its current form. And what's really interesting is that they have a pretty cool upgrade coming out with V3. Now, V3 seems like it is still quite some months away, but I think that will be a really, really interesting product because it's going to flip from an AMM to an order book with concentrated liquidity, with liquidity bins, letting you speculate with capital efficiency on the yield component of a variety of tokens. There's another component that I think is really, really interesting here, and that is the fact that Timeswap themselves are launching their token on Hyperliquid. Hyperliquid, of course, arguably has been one of the diamonds of this cycle, having, of course, one of the biggest airdrops ever, probably the biggest airdrop ever. And they've got a pretty thriving spot market going on now. And you can see this yourself if you go to hyperliquid.xyz. And what's interesting here is that I believe that Timeswap is the first VC-backed protocol that are going to launch their TGE directly on Hyperliquid. And this is going to make it really, really, really interesting because Timeswap are also going to launch on the Hyperliquid EVM. The EVM, of course, isn't live just yet, but I'm anticipating that in a few weeks to a month or so, I think we're going to see the EVM go live. And I think this is going to be really, really interesting to see the dynamic between token launches on the spot market versus, let's say, on your typical centralized exchanges. We've seen centralized exchanges cannibalize a lot of the market that we have in crypto because of the extortionate fees that they charge, and also the opaqueness around listings. Whereas to list something on Hyperliquid, it's permissionless. Yes, you have to purchase a ticker, and right now that is costing a fair amount. But Timeswap did this in due time, and did this in good time, I should say, and so they're ready to go. And with this token launch, I think it's going to be pretty interesting because, first of all, the market cap, FTV, I should say, is only 20 million. And I believe there will be around a 20% supply on circulation. And so this will have a circulating market cap of around 4 million. Now, if you want to participate, you can do so on Fjord. I'll leave a link to it in the description if you're watching this on YouTube. The one thing that you have to do is you have to go to Hyperliquid and make sure that you initialize your wallet. So connect your wallet, get that set up first. And then all you have to do is you need to make sure that you've got some USDC on Arbitrum, because the actual sale itself is going to be on Arbitrum. And then a few days later, automatically you will get your tokens on Hyperliquid. And so I think this is something that I will be paying attention to, possibly participating depending on how things go over the next couple of days with the portfolio. So yeah, that's the plan. Now, they did the last funding round at 40 million, and so we're actually getting a discount to that at 20 million, which I think is great. I think we've seen time and time again these low float, high FTV tokens. It's nice to see that Timeswap are thinking community first. So let's see how it goes, but I think I'm a big fan of Timeswap, and I'm one that I'm pretty excited for. So 20 million FTV, let's see how it launches on Hyperliquid itself. I think it's going to be pretty fun. Now, I actually talked about this and a bunch of other stuff on a tweet as well, so there might be some extra details that you can kind of read on here. But Hyperliquid really, showing itself as possibly being the on-chain Binance. Now, there is another token launch on Hyperliquid that really caught my eye as well, and it's Solv protocol, arguably one of the biggest DeFi Bitcoin protocols around. I think they've got about 2.5 billion in TVL right now, which is pretty phenomenal. And they also are doing a dual token launch where it's also listing on Binance as well as Hyperliquid at the same time. Now, that's going to be very, very interesting. Just seeing the dynamic here of like how tokens launch on Hyperliquid, I think is pretty crazy. And I think if Hyperliquid really gets a good going spot market, then I think, we're going to have to really rethink, like, how do we value Hype itself? Is it just a perps market? Is it an EVM? Is it, a spot market like Binance? It's actually a combination of all of them together. And so I think Hyperliquid, with its Hype token, may get a revaluation depending on how the spot market goes. Other than that, I think the AI sector continues to be one of the most interesting, I should say. And I think in the AI sector as well, something that I'm really focusing on is, as I mentioned in this tweet, is focusing on new niches. So I think, especially over the last week or so, we've really seen the emergence of DeFi AI, or as I like to call it, AI-fi. I think this is going to be a sector that continues to grow, and I think we're going to see AI really transform the way that we use on-chain DeFi, whether it's for bridging, whether it's for farming, whether it's for swapping, whether it's for trading. I really do think that AI agents get incorporated in a variety of different protocols. I think I'm personally seeing a bunch of teams work on this already, and so yeah, it will take a bit of time, but I think we will see it. And so as long as the idea is good, it creates a good enough environment for people to speculate. I think that's one thing that we do need to really remember, is that we're not really trading fundamentals here, we're trading ideas, and just bear that in mind, because when things go up, it's going to be great, but there will be a point in time where things do go down. Just make sure that you're ready for that. The other thing that I'm really going to be focused on is the existing AI agent frameworks and layers and networks, and seeing what comes out of them, the likes of AI16Z, but also the likes of HoloWorld, Redacted Research, and a bunch of others as well. So I think really focusing on those core teams, because those teams have shown that they're capable, and seeing kind of what comes out of that. That's basically my plan at the moment. I'm interested to hear what you guys think. I will probably be doing some more agent content, long form stuff as well. So I think you'll get a good idea of like what's interesting, what's not so good, etc., from that as well, hopefully. Other things that I thought I'll just mention as well whilst we're at it, before we look at the portfolio again, is talking about Boyko, Berachain's pre-Boyko vaults, I should say. Boyko is the program that's going to kickstart everything to do with Berachain. The pre-vaults, I mean, we haven't even started Boyko, and we've got 1.7 billion in TVL already, which is pretty insane. I look at Arbitrum, it's got just under 3 billion, and I look at Base with between 3 and 4 billion, and I really think that Berachain has a chance to actually flip both of them. Let's see how, of course, the Boyko program goes out. I was expecting it to launch this week, but it seems like it might actually end up being next week now. Although I'm speculating here, I don't actually know when it's going to happen. Hope it comes sooner rather than later, because yeah, the sooner it comes, the sooner we're going to see a mainnet, and when mainnet comes, Berachain is going to be absolutely insane. So yeah, here we've got, you know, the Stakestone vault for ETH, really pretty wild, and then the BTC vaults across Pump BTC, Etherfi's BTC product, and Lombard really being pretty equal between 200 and 300 million. And then Etherfi's ETH vault at almost 200 million. So yeah, Solv as well, over 100 million. It looks like these 6 vaults over 100 million each have really dominated. I would have expected to see more stablecoin usage, but Athena is under 100 million and Usual is only 28 million. Perhaps we'll see more of that. You know, I would have expected, you know, stablecoins to be at least 10%, if not higher than that. But it looks like right now all of the demand is on ETH and Bitcoin, which I think is pretty cool to see. Let's see when the Boyko program actually goes live and see kind of what happens there. But I'm anticipating that now, having seen 1.7 billion, that we probably end up getting towards 3 billion plus by the time Boyko ends. So Berachain is going to be a chain with $3 billion in TVL, and the mainnet still won't even be live. Pretty nuts. Yeah, last thing that I'll mention, I did see a novel new instrument called FX Protocol, and this was really interesting because they've added a new instrument altogether that lets you get fixed rate leverage with no funding rates. Yeah, it's basically spot fixed rate leverage. This is really cool, and a really new instrument. There are some complexities in terms of how the dynamic works, and through the mechanics. Perhaps I'll cover this in a little bit more detail in future, but I think this is something that I really like the idea of, and probably will be using a little bit myself. So when I do get some exposure to assets like ETH, potentially if I'm feeling a little bit bullish, or if I'm even feeling a little bit bearish, perhaps I might use something like this. Going into the portfolio as well, I guess nothing's really changed other than the assets that I have bought already. I think if there is one asset that I probably would cut, it's going to be Sandy. And this is only if I end up participating in something like the Timeswap public sale. And so, yeah, no financial advice. I mean, I don't know if things are going to go well or not go well. But I think if there were something that I would do, it'd probably be to cut this position, given that it's a little bit larger than the others. And I think in general, I think I have a lot of conviction in some of the others as well, more so than Sandy anyway. And so with that in mind, I think that would be the one that I would cut a little bit of and use that to bid Timeswap. So yeah, let's see how it goes. I'll try and film an update most likely after the Timeswap public sale now. And yeah, we'll take it from there. So yeah, let me know what your thoughts are. Smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, and I'll be back with another update pretty soon.